This is the Field of 68. I'm Vince Wolfram.
I'm Jojo Cavanagh in Auburn, Alabama. And this
is Straight Out the Jungle. Welcome back to Straight Out the Jungle. My name is Vince Wolfram.
I'm Jojo Cavanagh.
And we're here in Atlanta at State Farm Arena tonight where the Sweet 16 took place. And we had a couple great games tonight. I think the latter was the better of the two. Auburn taking on Michigan. 5-seed Michigan, like we've talked about, plenty of storylines coming into this one. Auburn ends up victorious. Michigan 65, Auburn 78. They looked like that team tonight.
It was a little slow in the first half, but then it was that Auburn team that you love in that second half. The energy from the crowd, the energy from your team, just the way 3 players scoring 20 points. That is the Auburn team that we knew before that little losing 3 of their last 4 games, before the SEC tournament, before Bama State. This was the Auburn team that was the number 1 team in the country for what, like 8 straight weeks?
Yep. Yeah, it certainly looked at it. I think we can just jump right into the big 3. You talked about 3 guys with 20 or more points. How absurd is that? I agree. We'll start with, I guess, the older guys. Let's start with Johni Broome because he was the first half. Against Creighton, it wasn't the offensive outpouring that we are used to seeing from the National Player of the Year candidate. Today, there was moments in this game where it looked like the National Player of the Year. Finished with 22 points and 16 rebounds. That's the part that's most impressive to me because 7 of them were defensive. 9 of them were offensive. That creates second chance points, which Auburn had 21 of compared to Michigan's. So that, I think, is where Johni Broome made his money tonight. Obviously, was able to score the ball at a high pace and a high rate, but I thought it was the rebounding that really, really set this game, especially offensive. Different.
I agree. Johni Broome had a double-double in the first half, 10 points and 11 rebounds. He was the only Tiger in double figures in the first half, so you kind of felt like you wanted to give the ball to Johni Broome. You felt like his mojo kept going, and you wanted that for him, especially after these past 2 games where he spoke out, he tweeted out that he's going to be better. He said in a press conference today, he was like, I played down again. I mean, still, he scored 22 points. You led this team 16 rebounds. I don't really think that's bad, but if that's bad for Johni Broome, I'm excited to see what he's going to do on Sunday. But just in the first half to have a double-double really, really turned it around for Auburn. And Auburn only had a 1-point lead going into halftime. So we didn't have Johni Broome. Who knew that was going to happen? So he was really a point in that first half. And then also just in the second half, kind of facilitating that offense. We knew it was going to be a battle between him, Vlad, Danny Wolf had a great game. He had 20 points himself, but Vlad, for a guy that averages nearly 17 points, only had 10 points. In the first half, he only had 2. So it was kind of, who won that battle? Johni Broome won that battle with 22 points and 16 rebounds.
Right. You want to see how they won the battle? Let's look at the made shots. I know Danny Wolf, like you said, had a good game. Was 9 for 18. Johni said he had a bad game. He was 9 for 21. So they're right there. Vladislav Goldin, 2 for 9. On the day. So that and a mix with Dylan Cardwell as well in the 22 minutes he played. I thought it was a good mix of both defensively. But that's where I thought Johni Broome really made his money tonight. Let's go to the second guy, though. We'll take it to Tahaad because I'll say the guy that I think was the MVP of the game for honest. Tahaad Pettiford, the freshman. If you want to take this one, you can because we looked at each other like this. You want no opinion? A lot.
There were multiple moments. Yeah. I mean, our first time at an away game together, so it's exciting. We were sitting literally courtside. We can kind of hear the players chatting to another, hearing all the reps, so that was amazing in itself. But there were certain moments, and it was specifically with these next 2 guys we're going to talk about, Tahaad Pettiford and Denver Jones, where we just literally looked at each other and we were like,
holy smokes.
My word. Tahaad Pettiford, he had, I think 5 points in the first half? Yep, 5 points in the first half. Then coming into the second half, there were just certain points that Auburn needed it, especially that 3 leading into that second half, the N1. And there's one certain moment that I want to bring up that I tweeted out. I was like, I know Tahaad Pettiford didn't like that. It was when Trey Donaldson scores on Tahaad Pettiford. And he looks at him and he goes, too small. And I just knew, the New Yorker in me, I knew the jersey was going to come out at Tahaad eventually. You don't do that to a Northerner. Let me just put it that way. Trey Donaldson had 5 points in the first half. At the end of the game, he had 5 points. Tahaad Pettiford, like I said, had 5 in the first half. He ended with 20. So like I said, Tahaad Pettiford did not like that. And it was just in that second half, this environment, first off, shout out to the jungle, because this was a home environment, and you felt that it was specifically when Tahaad Pettiford shot those shots that Auburn needed during that run. You felt it in the environment. It was Tahaad Pettiford.
Yeah, that was the moment I think that really sparked a spirited performance from Tahaad. 11:09 left in the first half. Trey, Gus, he uses that body that came committed to Auburn as a corner. He used that body, got a little bucket on Tahaad, and the too small, I think, set.
We looked at each other, and I was just like, I know that is setting this man off.
Trey, 5 points. Didn't score a bucket after that. And that was it. Completely flipped the switch on Trey Donaldson, which I think Auburn fans were worried about coming into the game. Just him knowing everything that Auburn does and having that in his back pocket, bringing it to Dusty May and company.
They've said that in press conferences, Dusty and Trey, that he knows his team, he knows Bruce.
Exactly. Very well versed in the offense. But Tahaad is just special. That kid can play. I said in the middle of the game, I think he has the quickest first step in college basketball. And then he proceeded to prove me right about 6 other times, using that first step to get to the basket, to get to the mid-range jump shot. He only hit 2 threes, I think, in the second half.
Which kind of shocked me. It felt like there were so many more in such a weird way.
It felt like there was a lot more, but I think a lot of them were just deep twos. He was getting to that step back that he really likes. The one, oh my goodness, I don't know what you would rate it on a figure skating scale, but whatever the top is on a figure skating scale, it was probably like 0.1 below that.
Well, that was when I looked at the ESPN notification I got, and I was like, they just said pirouettes.
Yes.
Like, that was the
That's
verb
what
to
it
use.
was. And that and one that Tahaad got from that mid-range jumper, I thought that was kind of the silencer for Michigan. It was almost like the last little nail in the coffin, and that was kind of the end of that. But goodness, I mean, the freshman just was spectacular, terrific, fantastic, whatever word you want to put with it, absolutely worked.
I agree. I think every single player afterwards was asked, what is it like playing with a freshman like Tahaad? And they were just like, I mean, Chad at one point looked over to us and was like, we need to check this guy's birth certificate. And I asked him about that, and Chad was like, it just makes it easier on us. Just to have a freshman like that coming off the bench in a Sweet 16 game.
Yeah, Chad and I actually talked about that after the last game when Tahaad went crazy against Creighton with Ashworth, and he said, I don't know that he's a freshman. Like, I don't know. I think we'll have to check that. I think he's got us fooled. Denver Jones agreed.
I think it's funny. It's when
continues.
the players in the opposing team try Tahaad. He says, try me. It's like it was Ashworth in that Creighton game. It was Trey Donaldson tonight. And you see both of those guys, when they say something to Tahaad, it's over for them.
Yeah, and another piece I liked, maybe a little unknown piece, or maybe you're questioning why in the world does this guy have on maize-colored sneakers? I mean, you want to talk about a guy that comes into the game with some attitude. Tahaad Pettiford wore the other team's colors on his feet tonight.
I think he should do that every game.
And he didn't change his shoes at halftime, which has become a common theme for Tahaad. So that was, a statement made. Like, I think they got you, because they're going to be thinking about all 20 of his points all offseason. And I'm sure they'll be pretty cemented in the minds of Trey Donaldson and the other Michigan guards.
I knew that Tahaad was going to go off, but he was by far, before the entire team, the first player on the court practicing shots.
About 5 minutes. Like, there was
so quick
5 minutes where he was like just
shooting
out
threes,
there on his own. There was a manager out there that was rebounding his basketballs and passing it out. Nobody else came on the court. Everybody else was still in the locker room. You're like, demon time incoming. And demon time can also go with this other guy, Denver Jones, because the second half, honestly, the game was, I thought, he didn't have the greatest of first halves, but still managed. Like, he had 7 in the first half.
There was one play in the first half.
There was one play in the first half, and it was one of the first plays in the first half.
It was that behind the back layup. I remember I looked, you were here we were, and I looked over, and there was another person sitting next to me. I didn't even know this person. It was just like, it wasn't even like if that was a fan of your team. That was an insane basketball play.
Yeah, well, behind the back on the fast break, wraps it around, finishes on the other side of the rim. That's a pro move from Denver Jones, Jamal Crawford-esque. But Denver, terrific 35 minutes, I thought, tonight. Had a lot on his hands here. You got to think Trey Donaldson knows everything you're going to do, but you still managed to do it. And Tahaad's going to get a lot of the credit tonight, because obviously he's the guy with the popularity. He's the guy that has the aura, if you would like to put it that way. So this game might be an unsung game from Denver. He might be the unsung hero of this one. But he turned this game around, and I want to pinpoint one run that was the Denver Jones run in the second half. And it helped spark a 20-2 run for Auburn in that second half where they took the lead and they truly never looked back. It started with a Denver 3. And when that got going, you could tell the jungle picking up volume. And then Dylan gets a stop on the defensive end. Ball goes out of bounds. Ball comes back. Denver Jones, second 3. Two of them in a row. Johni Broome gets a defensive stop. Michigan needs a timeout. That's the momentum shifter that I think totally switched the game. I mean, Auburn trailed 48-39 with 12:26 left. After that, a 39-17 run to take the lead and not even try to look back. I think it was primarily led by Denver Jones. He led the team in minutes tonight, 35 of them, 7 for 13 from the field, hit 4 triples, perfect from the line, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, plus minus of 18. I thought defensively he handled business. A lot of tough guards, I thought, for Michigan, but you wouldn't know the way that Denver Jones guarded him tonight. So, in my opinion, he's the MVP, and he's probably the unsung hero for the Auburn fans that will look back at this game and say, wow, Tahaad Pettiford really had a great game. Johni, and although we found out, put up a lot of points, it was the Denver Jones game for me.
I agree. I feel like Tahaad Pettiford is getting all of that shine right now, and I think it is deservedly, but I also think that equally should go to Denver Jones. Denver Jones was the unsung hero of this game. I thought in the first half, even though he only had 7 points, I felt like he was the only one bringing him along with Johni Broome offensive momentum. So you knew coming into that second half, you wanted to give it to Denver. And I remember one key point in that first half where I knew it was kind of Denver's game was Chris Moore looking at him and going, "Stay hot, Denver. Stay hot, Denver." And you just knew, like, that switch was flipped in Denver. And there was even one point in the second half where Denver was just like calming himself down because he just knew he was on fire. And as long as he kept that pace, he was going to keep going. And like you said, that 39-17 point differential after being down 9 for Auburn. Michigan made only 4 shots in the last 12 minutes. And Danny Wolf, who was Michigan's leading scorer, who was their offense in the first half, second half. I mean, in the first half, there were Michigan fans in the crowd, the ones that were there. You know, the jungle was insane. But there was Danny Wolf chants being said. He had 20 points, and he didn't score in the last, 10 minutes? So that's the defense of the second half. And I'll get to that later, but just Denver Jones, like you said, I think unsung hero, perfect. Those back-to-back threes, that just behind-the-back layup, which is going to be my dream tonight.
If it's not on SportsCenter, I'd be absolutely
top 10. That was, I think you heard the whole crowd, even Michigan fans go, like I said, if you're just a fan of basketball, please go watch that play.
It was one of those, oh.
Yeah, that's what you heard in the crowd. So I 100% agree. Denver Jones was the unsung hero of this game. Just to have 3 players at 20-point games in a Sweet 16 game, that's the Auburn that you love. And then, like I said, was the number 1 team for 8 straight weeks.
Yeah, and I'm going to stand up for Denver here because I split the word unsung with it, and that's what it will be. Man, does it not deserve to be unsung? It deserves to be Denver Jones, the hero. And that's what it was. And we've seen it time and times again. There hasn't been a game where people have walked away and you're like, Denver Jones might just be the best point guard of college basketball. Walter Clayton's really good. I think he and Denver are on the exact same playing field. I may be the only person in America that thinks that. But after this game and after the weeks that he's strung together, I mean, you think from the Vanderbilt game through now, he's had a handful of tougher ones, but I mean, SEC tournament, he was a solid factor. I feel like we say all the time, the consistent pieces, it usually starts with Denver Jones, and that's been the case. Creighton, I thought he was a big piece. Alabama State, he was also a big piece. So kind of coming into his own when he really needs to be. I think he's up there with the best, certainly in the SEC, while the SEC is in college basketball. But Denver Jones, I mean, my friend, you deserve some more love that you're not getting. When I didn't see his name on the Naismith All Defensive Player of the Year finalists, 2 Tennessee players, a Houston player, and Kalkbrenner from Creighton, oh my goodness, I reloaded the page. I'm not even kidding. I said there should be Lamar, right? There should be. What? Where's this dude? Because I think he's the best on-ball defender in college basketball. Ziegler is up there as well, and I think Meshack is too. So is Denver Jones. I think it's a discredit to what he's done. And look at the record of this Auburn team. It's the most games that they've ever won in their program's history.
31.
And you take Denver Jones off that team, it's half it. I'd argue that every day. Denver Jones is the most valuable player on this team. They proved it. When Johni Broome was out, they still won games. Denver Jones was out. What the heck happened?
lost.
So I'm going to stand on that hill. I'm on the Denver Jones
I
train.
loved that Vince
Come on.
from Denver Jones.
Come
rant.
on. I'm here. I'm here for it all year.
Danger with Denver. I mean, we saw that.
I think I said in the first episode, Denver Jones is going to be the MVP. And
I
I've been
honestly
rocking
feel
with-
like you did.
I've been rocking with it all year. That's my guy. Shout out to you, Deuce. Let's go.
But I mean, 20 points. But then you were talking defense. He should be on Danae Smith.
Amen.
Finalist.
Amen.
But that defense in those last 12 minutes, where Michigan made 4 shots in the last 12.
Thought the Hawks were playing them. That's okay.
It was Denver Jones and Dylan Cardwell. And Dylan Cardwell spoke to the media after, and he was just talking about Stephen Pearl, who's the defensive coordinator, that he's the hardest guy to impress. And he said, when you have Stephen Pearl running to half court, you knew you did something. And that is so true. In the first half, I remember just seeing Stephen Pearl and Bruce Pearl were both extremely frustrated. Just it was not going well for Auburn. I mean, 10 turnovers. It was 11 turnovers in the first half, and they were silly turnovers constantly. And both Michigan and Auburn having 23 turnovers in this game and winning
Fix that.
by double digits, madness. So that's definitely the thing that's going to be a focal point going into Sunday. But Stephen Pearl and just Dylan Cardwell, the relationship that they have, especially with and Denver Jones too, that Stephen Pearl running to half court in that first half, he was so frustrated with this team. And in that second half, when Auburn goes on that run and shuts down Michigan, it's not even the fact that Auburn just goes on a run, it's the way that they did it. And to see Stephen Pearl get excited like that, when usually it's a lot of the time it's in frustration. And Dylan said he's the hardest guy to impress.
Yeah.
So I thought that just really proved Auburn's defensive performance in that second half when they went on that run.
Yeah, Bruce talked about in our very first episode, what's going to be the game where he blows a blood vessel and his neck blows up. Thought it was going to be this game. There were some points. I'm not even going to lie to you. There was some points where you were, ooh, he's a lot. Pat Adams is getting the work in his ear there, but that's okay because all they want to do is win and they want a fair ball game, and I think they got that. And I guess we've talked about the big three. Let's go to the first half because maybe not pleasant is probably the way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
Auburn's had some tough first halves. They've become, I think, more of a second half team as the year has gone on. And I mean, you want a definition of a second half team. I think you can define it with this one. Put the dot on the end of the sentence. Let's take a look at the first half stats because shooting the basketball seemed like something that was foreign to Auburn in the first half, especially
You could say that again.
from distance because first half Auburn shot 18.8% from three. They shot 32% from the field and 50% from the free throw line.
3 of 16 from 3. When you just put it like that, they made 3 and they tried 16 times.
Yeah. And if I tell you that before the game, are we winning?
No.
Is Auburn winning?
No.
No, not a shot in the dark. Second half, they turned it around. 47% from the field, 41% from three, 91% from the free throw line. Big difference between the first and second half. I tweeted at some point, the first half takeaway is that Auburn needs to just make shots in the second half. That's what it was. Defensively, I didn't think they were horrible. They let Danny Wolf get a little loose, which I think was the focal point, obviously, in the last 12 minutes when they went on the massive 39-17 run, was trying to stop Danny Wolf. And it's a hard task. That's a guy, I was telling you on the ride to Atlanta, I love the dudes who were the point guards in high school, had the growth spurts, and then are all of a sudden the 6'10 monsters that can handle the basketball like Allen Iverson, but also score at the big man positions. Like, those guys are difficult to stop. You look at Anthony Davis, he was the same way. He was a 6'2 guy as a sophomore, grew to 6'9", 6'10 in high school, and became an absolute monster. Danny Wolf, same sort of situation. How do you guard that? I don't know, but Auburn managed to do that in the second half. They let him get loose in the first half offensively. That was certainly the adjustment, I think, at second half. Only letting him go for 9, missed a couple of free throws. He's a tough cover, and in the first half, that was evident. Let Trey get going a little bit in the first half. There was some spark in the first half for Michigan.
Definitely.
That I think Auburn kind of blew out in the second half and said, no more.
My biggest thing was, my 2 takeovers from that first half was, we need to shoot the ball better. It was, for either team, it was not good. But then turnovers. Like I said, Auburn had 11 turnovers in the first half. And it wasn't the fact that they were so many turnovers, it was the way they were happening. They were just silly. It was passing it to the wrong team. It was like a bad pass. Let's go behind the back when we're down like 4 or 5. It just wasn't great. Like Tahaad and Johni both had 3 turnovers. Johni ended with 5, but then funny thing, Tahaad Pettiford ends with 3 turnovers. So he knew in that first half he was able to make that adjustment. So I know going into the game on Sunday against Michigan State, that's something that Auburn's going to want to clean up, especially in that first half. They cannot commit that many turnovers.
Yeah, that's certainly a spot Ira Bowman talked about. We can't turn the ball over like that against a Tom Izzo coach team. That's not going to work. Not going to work in the slightest. And a guy we talked about just a little bit there, making silly mistakes in the first half. First half, Chad Baker-Mazara only played 11 minutes. Second half, turned up the notch a little bit. And had a much better second half. And we were actually able to catch up with Mr. Baker-Mazara after the game, and excited Chad Baker-Mazara because he's heading to the Elite Eight.
All right, Chad, just beat Michigan, advancing to the Elite Eight. What's going through your mind?
Feeling good, feeling confident, happy. At the same time, job ain't done. So once we leave this locker room, we locking into Michigan State.
What worked for you? You started the second half off pretty strong there with some energy, with some pop. Sort of what was the halftime message that got you guys coming out with some lightning?
I know I would struggle a little bit offensively, and I kept saying to myself, okay, how am I going to impact the game in a different way? I know my offense ain't working, and I got to find somehow I can help the guys some other way. So, came back out there, I told Coach, look, you got me in the defensive side. My production on offense ain't that good right now. So let the guys eat, whoever's eating, and I got you on the other side, though.
Yeah, there was a lot of eating, a lot of plates full of food. We'll start with Tahaad, the freshman. I mean, speak to that. You had your hands on your head. You didn't know what in the world that guy was going to do, but it was going to go in the basket. What were you seeing when you saw him?
I don't know. There was a couple of shots that I said, Tahaad, what are you? Whoa. Steve Kerr, when Curry went behind the back, he was like, he had me just like that, bro. I was just like, bro, he's just incredible. But at the same time, I seen him put in the work this whole time he been here, and, he's paying off.
Yeah. And Denver Jones, too, like you'd mentioned, stepped up on the defense. You stepped up on the defensive side. He wasn't too far behind you. He was right there and on offense as well. Talk about his game, because it was a complete one tonight.
Oh, yeah. I said that's the best two-way player in the whole country. He'll guard, best guards that we got and play against, and you leave him alone, he's going to air you out the gym. So, I'm very happy, very proud of him. I just want him to keep doing his thing.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing we don't want to change from now until Sunday is the Auburn family. Speak to how loud this place was tonight.
Hey, man, bring it on again on Sunday, because that was lit. Oh, God.
Heard it here first. Auburn advancing to the Elite Eight. Chad Baker-Mazara is leading.
So Chad obviously got funny with us there, but he was able to turn it around, and that halftime message certainly worked. He finished with 6 total points on the game, couple rebounds, 4 fouls, which I think sort of took him out of his groove, and there is a piece of him that comes with that. He has to be on the floor and get in that motion, get in that groove, like he talked about, to be at his best. And not that he wasn't at his best tonight, but he's felt a little disheveled, so it was good to see him take pride in his defense, to take pride in other areas, similar to Janot, and that Creighton game. Found other ways to make the game happen and almost insert his will on the game. He's such a powerful piece. Like we've talked about, he is that energy factor. He is the burning ball of fire that will catch everybody else on this roster in flames, and that's what he was tonight. And it didn't have to be scoring, which is what this team is built on. And that bench, the bench points, 24 for Auburn, 14 for Michigan, 10-point difference there. I mean, that is the difference at the end of the day.
Auburn's depth.
They only won by 13. Auburn's depth proved to be the winner. The winner again.
Proved to be the key. And also, Chad Baker-Mazara still it's a little banged up. Constantly saw him that entire game kind of holding that right hip. I know after halftime he came out with some brace on. So still providing that energy despite not being 100%. But another guy off the bench who I thought provided energy, specifically in one play, was that Chaney Johnson dunk that made State Farm Arena sound like Neville Arena. And I was able to catch up with him in the locker room and ask him about this play.
First ever Elite Eight. How does that feel?
Oh, can I hold the mic?
Of course you
I can hold the mic? Okay. All glory to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, because without him, I would be nothing. His team would be nowhere. And I just feel like he's blessed his team so much, and he's keep on boosting our platform. And, I'm just really grateful to be a part of this.
That dunk in the second half, coming out of that timeout, what was going through your mind?
I ain't gonna lie, I think that was the most energetic I've ever been after a dunk, I had to get myself going a little bit, had a couple careless turnovers. So I just had to get myself going. I mean, Chad, Chad got binoculars in his eyes, so he saw me on the slip, and I just had to go up strong and finish it. So, no, I was real hyped after that one.
What is it like playing with a freshman like Tahaad Pettiford?
Amazing. He's a dog, and he go out there and he plays like a dog, you know. So, I mean, it's a great feeling. I'm grateful to be able to be a part of his journey because he's a pro, and be able to see him just continue to perform in big games, man, it's crazy.
Denver Jones had a great game tonight, over 20 points. What is it like? You guys have kind of a similar story, both coming from JUCOs, seeing a guy shine like that in arguably one of the biggest stages in college basketball.
Denver works real hard. He's one of the hardest workers on the team, and to see him get the fruits of his labor is amazing. He plays both ends real well and gives great energy all the time. And, you know, every game he doesn't get the shots, but he deserves the shots, and when he gets the ball, you know, he's automatic. So it's great to see a man like that, see my teammate like that go in. And he also my hotel roomie, so, you know, shout out to him.
How was the environment tonight? How was the jungle?
It was miraculous. It was spectacular. What's another word? It was amazing. You know, to have the fans. I think that was the largest Tiger Walk we'd ever had, coming onto the bus. And to see, like, how loud they got, I mean, they really gave us energy to go on that run that won us a game.
Chaney Johnson, give me life. That dunk was absurd.
I mean, it was just, you heard that entire arena erupt. And, I mean, he talked about it. I think, what did he say that was the most, he said, you guys literally just saw it. That happened, like, we're delusional. It is 2 o'clock, actually, literally about to hit 2 o'clock in the morning. I forget the exact word that he said, but he said something to the lines of, like, that was his most energetic, or that was the most, something like that.
The most emphatic he had ever been.
Yes, something. I think it was.
And if you saw it on TV, I'm sure you knew the exact words he says. We're not going to say them here on this program, but the guy was pretty excited. He can't pass it up. The guy was loving it. Energy was there. He was pumped. I thought he was a piece that Auburn used in a very good way. Mm-hmm. I know he probably says he didn't have his best game of the night, but I mean, that guy is as strong as a mule, and he can get after it. He's just so stocky, and when you throw him in there, it's never going to be easy for an offensive player to score on him. I think he gave Golden some trouble. I think he gave Dorney some trouble, just working him off the line a little bit because he is built like a bull, and it's hard to move him off his spots. And I think that's what he contributed most for me tonight in his 25 minutes. It didn't have to be offense inside of the dunk. Dunk was pretty cool, but I thought defensively, just working guys off the line, trying to force people to do things that they don't want to do. That's what Chaney brought to the game tonight.
I agree, whether it was Johni or Dylan not in, or just Chaney on Vlad or Chaney on Danny. I thought he was really good defensively, but I also loved how when he talked to the media after, he knew, he's like, one of the biggest things, he's like, I got to rebound more. He ended with, 5 rebounds, and I mean, when Johni Broome has 16, Dylan Crowell has 9, who was it? Miles Kelly,
I was going to say
6'2". He was jumping.
Yeah, I was going to say, big guard Miles really showed himself tonight. He didn't shoot the ball great, was 1 for 9. 1 for 7 from 3. But one thing I appreciated about Miles tonight was that he didn't stop. He didn't stop trying to find it. Because when Miles Kelly finds it, he finds it. And I know he hit one, and I think it was early. And it was in that first half, I believe, because he was 1 for 7 from the field in the first half, 1 for 5 from 3. Kept shooting it. Kept trying to light it up, kept trying to find it. After all, this is his home, and that was one of the coolest storylines coming in. He played at Georgia Tech for 3 years, never made the NCAA tournament. Georgia Tech plays in a building just down the street, and sometimes in this building. Miles Kelly was able to play a Sweet 16 in this building in front of a crowd that is his home crowd tonight. And for him to get a win, play one more game in this building, I think he'll take that, and I think he's going to try to flip the script offensively.
I almost think that him having an off offensive game,
it's almost like think Doc.
I think so, because you truthfully didn't really need it when you have Tahaad, Denver, and Johni going for 20 points, and going into Sunday, which is one of his last game in college, playing in Atlanta, his last game in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Playing at home, he's going to have all his family and friends there, so I think it's bound to be a Miles game for him to go off. But like you said, I also love how he didn't stop shooting. I know Bruce Brothing spoke about it. I forget which game it was after, but did you think that ball was going to go in? I remember him talking about him. Every time he has the ball, you think it's going to go in. I think he said that about Miles and Tahaad. And although it wasn't Miles' night was Tahaad's night, because every time he had the ball here, it was going in. But still, I love how he has the confidence to shoot that, because in every Auburn fan, like, no matter if he's 1 for 10, you want him taking that shot because of what he did at Kentucky, scoring.
I believe he's gonna
you believe he's going to make it. You have that belief in him, and I love how the coaching staff and himself just always believe that he has that shot.
Yeah, we talked about with him his ability to rebound. I mean, Virgo talked about him playing off 2 feet. Miles talked about how he's going to try to get more rebounds every single game. The culmination of that was that 6 rebounds. Defensive rebounding. How are you supposed to rebound when Danny Wolf is 6'10" and can jump, and Vladislav Golden can put his arms in the air and he touches the rim? That's hard to rebound against. I thought Miles was the perfect extra piece. I know Auburn had a lot of guys chained with 5. Miles had 6. Denver had 4. Dylan with 9. And Johni obviously pulled down everything that fell from the sky. But Miles is that extra piece, that extra additive thing where you might not get it every game, but not everybody brings everything every game. And you need somebody like that to step up. So I thought Miles was big in that very aspect.
Yeah, when you just had Miles Kelly, I think he had 5 rebounds in the first half. He was second in rebounding to Johni Broome, who had 11, and you just kind of felt like in a game where in that first half Auburn didn't have that momentum, it was rebounding that Auburn at halftime was 29-17. Auburn wins the rebounding battle 48-33, which against a team that has bigs like Vladislav Golden and Danny Wolf, to win the rebounding battle meant you won this game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's huge, and I think Auburn is now hoping that they can go and win one more game. They have the chance. They have the chance to do that on Sunday in this building. We don't know what time yet, but it's going to be a dogfight. I think this is just going to be a downright war between Auburn and how hot they are right now, and the number 2 ranked seed in the South region, the Michigan State Spartans, led by Hall of Fame coach Tom Izzo. Now, let's start with the coaching matchup. Bruce Pearl, Tom Izzo. Like, can it get more legendary than that?
No, I mean, you just talked about the South region in general. It was all coaches that brought a team to a Final Four. Chris Beard, Bruce Pearl, Tom Izzo, and Dusty May. So just that in general, then now you're going into Tom Izzo and Bruce Pearl going head-to-head. As a college basketball fan, you can't ask for much more.
No, you can. And I think this game has dogfight written all over it. Michigan State tonight, 73-70 victory over Ole Miss, a team that Auburn has beat 3 times. I'm I'm a happy man going to sleep tonight knowing that Auburn doesn't have to play Ole Miss for the fourth time, because it's hard to beat a team twice. It's even harder to beat a team 3 times, and it's probably hardest to beat a team 4th time. So shout out to Ole Miss for giving Auburn maybe a fresher matchup.
A close one down the stretch. I mean, hearing the environment in the arena, being in that arena, and it was just Ole Miss fans cheering, Michigan State fans cheering. So it was just going back and forth down that stretch.
Yeah, hotty totty gosh almighty, and you had Sparty Nation. Had nothing on the jungle that pulled up, I thought, today to
not.
Auburn East. But still close. 2-point game at halftime. Michigan State ends up holding on. And I think for Auburn, the piece that they're going to have to stop is Jason Richardson. His son, Jace Richardson, has been dynamo for Michigan State this year. Last time in this building when he played, it was in the Champions Classic at the very beginning of the year against a Kansas team, and he did play very well, only had 8 points. Back in this building today, 20 points, 4 threes, 6 for 8 from the field. He was a piece. He's a lefty. He's a little different. Like he's a different build. He's sort of slider legs, and he can't jump as high as maybe his dad was because he was an NBA dunk contest champion. But the kid can really, really shoot the ball, gets to his spots. We've seen a brother on Michigan State, Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. His brother, Fears Jr., is on Michigan State and is their starting point guard. So that's another name we can watch out for. But a lot of depth with Michigan State. They played 8 guys tonight for over 10 minutes. So you're going to see a lot of faces. And they're similar to Creighton in that they don't foul a lot. They're smart. They know how to play the right way. That's a Tom Izzo coach team. You're going to get that every single time. So watch out for those dudes. I think Auburn's advantage comes with the big men. I think a guy like Jackson Kohler, I don't think he has much to scare Johni with the same way that Michigan kind of did, if that makes sense. I mean, he's a 6'9", 245-pound junior, and he's tough. He can get into you. He averages about 8 points a game. I think he's tied like almost close to 100 in rebounds in the country. He's not going to wow you, but he's a Chaney Johnson. He's tough. He's a dog. He's not going to back off. So expect fight. That's why I say this game is going to be a war. That's the word I'm going to use for it, because I think it's just going to be one of those knuckle clashing, maybe blood on the face kind of Tyler Hansborough games come Sunday.
I agree. And I think a guy I toasted to earlier in the season, Trey Holloman, who off the bench tonight against Ole Miss had 10 points. I remember him having that buzzer beater to make me toast to him. So they've got depth to have double figures come off the bench. And just, I remember being in the tunnel. Michigan State comes out. First off, Tom Izzo, he was emotional. That was really, really cool to see.
Yeah.
But all that coaching staff was fired up.
Yeah, they were
All
turned.
of them were screaming at each other,
They were
like
turned.
chest bumps. It was like that energy. I was like so excited because I was like, wait, if we win, we're playing with next. I'm like, I don't want that energy, but that coaching staff was ready to play. All those guys were like, looked like players, like dapping each other up and jumping around. So I think it's just, I mean, Bruce Pearl, Tom Izzo, both of these teams. I remember going on bracket casts. I don't know about everyone else's bracket, but mine is doing great right now, except for
Bracket.
Auburn.
We still have those.
But I remember looking at all of the analysts, whether it was Jay Billis, Nicole Corum, Stephen A. Smith, and all I remember is almost all of those, I don't know if those specifically, had Michigan State beating Auburn. Almost every single analyst on that bracket cast. So I'm really curious to see. Hope Auburn proves that wrong. So you just know that if everyone thinks that Michigan State's going to be Auburn, this is going to be down to the wire, a gritty game.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the advantage will be for the bigs of Auburn. And I'll say this, I think this could be a game where Dylan Cardwell really, really shows what he's about. Because I think the biggest player on Michigan State is 6'11", Holloman off the bench. Outside of that, I mean, Dylan's still taller than that. You got to deal with Johni. Right now, the power forward that Michigan has starting stands at a stout 6'6". And what are you going to do with Johni Broome? I know it's one of the bounciest players in college basketball with Cohen Carr, but regardless, like, I don't know what kind of bigs they're going to have to, I don't know what scheme they're going to have to throw at them. Maybe they'll go zone. I don't know what they'll have to do, but they'll have to do something to try to slow down this hot Auburn team. It's going to be a guard-heavy game. I think they're going to push each other. I think it's going to be a jibey kind of matchup between these guards, especially like mine, especially Tahaad and Denver, guys that have sort of had their games. They need to see a little bit more from them. I think this one, it's going to be a guard fight.
I agree. And like we said, Miles coming off not a great offensive night. Last college game in ATL, I think Miles goes off. And just Tahaad Pettiford, it was coming into March Madness. He did not have a good SEC tournament. Double digits against Creighton. And then tonight. So I think we're bound for my prediction, Miles Kelly, Tahaad Pettiford. Chad Baker-Mazara too. I know he's banged up, but just not having that best game. And I think just him having that spark against Creighton until he got hurt. He's still a little bit hurt. Hopefully he gets a little bit more rest before Sunday. I think it's just, I think it's a guard game where all these guards can go off, specifically Miles Kelly and Tahaad.
Yeah, and two, just before we jump into our toast, I do want to say this about Michigan. Okay. They're a team with a new head coach, first-year head coach, basically an entirely new roster. The year that Michigan had this year is very, very, very underappreciated.
Mm-hmm.
People thought that they, just because they led the country in turnovers, that maybe they were just getting hot at the right time or lucking out based off who they were playing. No, they won their last 5 games. They won the Big Ten tournament. That's the second best team in college basketball, the second best conference in college basketball. So give Dusty May credit. I think he deserved it. They gave Auburn a fight for, call it 32 straight minutes, and worked Auburn to the wire, and had beaten great teams too. So I think we got to give Michigan some credit. I love Danny Wolf's game. I think it's so unique. And like I talked about earlier, I love that point guard to the grow up. And then the fact that he even beat Auburn last year and came back this year. And I love that he's not a trash talker. He's a go about your business guy. Played 35 tough minutes. I don't know if it's his last game. I don't know if he has another year of eligibility, but I love watching that kid play basketball. I think he's just a pleasure to watch. He's smart. He's witty. He can move. He could play. That's a guy I really appreciated watching tonight. And Trey Donaldson, a guy that left very honestly. And I don't think he wanted to leave, but in the best interest of his career and where it's going,
A better situation.
it was the best move. And he's never talked bad about Auburn. That's one thing I think in this transfer portal world that can get kind of swept up sometimes is like these people talk bad about where they were and that kind of stuff never happened but Trey Donaldson. So shout out to those two guys. And I just want to say Michigan, I thought, has had a fantastic year, and nothing but appreciation for how far they have come in just a matter of 365 days.
I agree with everything you just said, and especially with Trey. Just Trey having nothing but good things to say about Auburn, and vice versa. Bruce, the team, all of them have still really good friendships and stuff. So there was nothing really like fun, not really smack talking today. They were just playing one another, and it was cool to see that they still have that relationship, all of them.
The only moment I noticed was Johni coming out of halftime, looked at Trey and said, "Come on, come on." And that's what we're going to say now as we head into our toasts for the day. I'll let you start. I got a classic March Madness toast that I think is going to be perfect to just rock out.
Okay, I'm not counting this as a toast, but I feel like this just needs its own segment in our show. Is Safe Farm Arena was Neville Arena tonight. This place, I could not get over. I mean, I feel like
Auburn East.
Everyone expected it. Auburn's playing in Atlanta. It's a home court environment, but there still is that fear that everyone said it isn't going to happen.
Yep.
Ooh, let me tell you, it happened. This place erupted. It sounded like Neville Arena. I mean, free throws, you heard the AU, a Cheney dunk, that Chad dunk at the end. The place erupted. It was just cheering when Tahaad Pettiford went to the bench. The crowd noise when Michigan was on offense. It was like, if this team doesn't make it to a Final Four, you're playing at home, basically. That was what I took away from this. So, I mean, going into Michigan State, I know it's going to be a battle, but Auburn has home court advantage if that crowd was tonight, if it is on Sunday.
Yeah, no shame in saying that. I think
not at all.
like showed up is probably an understatement.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw KD Johnson.
I was gonna say, speaking of Kid, he wore his Auburn rings too, so shout out to
Auburn
KD.
rings. You saw Takeo Spikes in the stands. You saw Hugh Freeze in the stands. They just started spring practice. And he's battling cancer. He's still in the stands
till
here
midnight.
At State
So
Farm Arena. Exactly, till midnight. He's probably going back tonight too. So plenty of Auburn faithful here, and I think with it being a weekend game, get some Sunday church in you, and in great words,
we out to Atlanta.
Bring your ass, Anthony Edwards. Bring it, because Auburn's going to need it against Michigan State. It's just going to be one of those games. All right, now wrap up
that
on
was a
segment.
side note.
Toast of the game. Who we got?
Mine isn't to a specific person. It just is to an ending to a game. So we were in the locker room with the players, and I pull up Twitter, and I see the ending to the Purdue-Houston game.
We're standing there with Blake watching it.
Yeah, and I am just like, so I am toasting tonight to whichever assistant coach, head coach of, whether it's Kelvin Sampson, I said Kelvin, not Kevin, but assistant coach, whether it was him, whoever called that play, Purdue is thinking of that for the rest of their lives. So shout out to whoever on the Houston coaching staff called that play, and that's my toast, because that play was just to end a game like that, to go into the Elite Eight in March Madness. That's got to hurt for Purdue.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely a stinger, especially like you said, ever going to the Final Four last year. They had a Player of the Year guy in Brady Smith. Tough one. I think it just proves Houston's worthy of being there too. And I think I told Jeff Goodman today, I think they have the best defense in the country right now. They move so fast. They recover so fast. That's a Kelvin Sampson-led team that is reaching scary.
I'm hoping we do not have to play them again, because everyone can say, oh, well, we beat them. That's my exact point. We already beat them, and it's hard to beat a team twice. And this Houston team, that was only, the second game of this season? This Houston team has just gotten so much better.
I agree, and that's a team I know I wouldn't want to face right now, and I feel bad for whoever their Elite Eight matchup is going to be. My toast today,
Tennessee? I
think it is Tennessee, because Tennessee put a whooping
on Kentucky's
Father, Son, and the Holy Pope today. They put a good old-fashioned
one.
whooping on the Cats. Ending a season similar to Michigan, I think they have to be proud of reaching the point they did.
I mean, first-year head coaches, Coach Cal, Pope, Dusty May. I don't know who else I'm missing, but the way that they changed those programs in those first years, just shout out to those guys.
Yeah, a wonderful year for first-year head coaches. If you're a first-year coach, shout out to you. All right, my toast of the game. It's going to a March Madness, a legend. Bill Raftery. You
I know it's
feel
coming.
it. I wanted to meet the legend today, because there's no better just thunderous March Madness call than Bill Raftery saying, onions! I just wanted to do it one time. And
On camera, one time on
time.
camera. He's done this like 4 times to me tonight. Whenever he walked by.
Come on, whenever there was a 3 made, it was onions. That's just what it was. But I wanted to shout out LaSalle, the Explorers. My grandfather, my papa went to LaSalle. My cousin Dan Wolfram, not Danny Wolf, was a manager for the basketball team over there. And that's also Bill Raftery's It's cool. That's his spot.
Alma mater.
That's his alma mater. That's the word I was looking
I
for.
knew
You threw
it.
the open up.
I got it.
Dunked it. The Explorers. Shout out the Explorers. Shout out LaSalle. Maybe they'll be in the tournament here soon. I know they got to get a new head coach this summer. So shout out LaSalle. Shout out to Bill Rafferty. And shout out to Onions.
Shout out. I don't know how else to answer to that after that.
Bring it down, Jerome. Another classic Bill Rafferty reference. Bill Rafferty probably had plenty of great calls tonight. Can't wait to listen to that one back. A 65 Michigan Auburn 78 win in the Sweet 16 to advance to the Elite Eight on Sunday here in Atlanta. Jojo Cavanagh, a fantastic win for the Auburn Tigers. Anything else you would like to add before we put a bow and call it an episode?
No, I'm just our first away game together in Atlanta, and we get to come back and do it on Sunday. So can't complain.
No.
Can't complain.
No complaints here, no complaints there. That's all we have from here to there. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment. Hopefully we've got, 3 more episodes
Hopefully.
on the way. So we got to get one first, and that one will come on Sunday after the game against Tom Izzo and the Michigan State Spartans. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a war. That's all we've got for tonight because it is 2:30 in the morning, and we got to get back to Auburn. So, Auburn faithful, Godspeed. We'll see you next time. Good night, and War Eagle.
Good night and more Eagle. I hope the whole state of Michigan hates us on Sunday because I'm going to Michigan and Michigan State. Mic drop.
All right, I'm going home.